It's about that time again.
What is up, guys? If you're watching this, that means you got another day. Welcome back to my room in Hollywood, California. By the way, shout out to my friend Yana for the sick pattern shirt here. I wanted to talk to you guys about, well, some of your favorite YouTubers, but not the way that you see them on camera or every time they upload, how they're like off camera. And over the last several years, I've been able to work with some of arguably the biggest automotive YouTubers in the game, and I just kind of wanted to tell you guys, at least from my perspective, what I think of each of them. Keep in mind that these are only my opinions and only my experiences, so despite whatever maybe rumors or comments that you've read or things that you've heard or anything like that, this is just how these particular people have treated me personally over the last several years, and all of them are really good experiences. So let's get right into it. Coming in at number one is my favorite automotive YouTube channel to watch. This guy is the host for everything supercar community news, and that is Life of PALOS. If you live under a rock, Life of PALOS basically is the hub for everything to do in the car community. He reports on YouTubers like Daily Driven Exotics, Stradman, you name it. I found myself watching his channel more than I actually was watching the creators on a daily basis, just because I liked waking up and listening to the sound of, hey, good morning everybody, you're here for the beer, blah, blah, blah. My interactions with Life of PALOS, ironically, I've never met the guy, but I talk to him on an almost daily basis. This is related to something that will be revealed on the channel maybe in the near future, but at least for now, I know Aaron, I'd say pretty well at this point, and he knows me very well. It's funny, first of all, to hear his voice over the phone, because I'm so used to hearing it on YouTube. Extremely polite, very, very careful on how he presents topics, presents stories, how he carries himself. Like, I think his branding is really good, and he's one of the only people I know who can speculate and put out commentary, keep it pretty unbiased and very positive. Anytime he does make a mistake, he tries very hard to correct it, wants to just share that excitement about cars with everyone, and I think that translates very well on his channel, because if you watch any of his episodes, he's like really excited and happy in the beginning of the episode for kind of no reason, and he's like that in real life too. He'll call me up and just be excited about nothing, and that type of energy translates over really well. If you get tripped up on anything on his page, you're probably just misreading it, because the guy is really wholesome and he is just out there to be excited about cars just like you guys are. Moving on. I couldn't do this video unless I talked about this guy. He's known for having way too many cars in his driveway, looking at the views on views in Utah and wrapping all his cars purple, and that is James, the Stradman. My relationship with James stems back to 2018. We did a photo shoot for his Gallardo when he brought it into makes and models one time. Myself and AJ Lee Photo, if you don't know who that is, here's his ad. Go follow AJ Lee Photo, takes amazing pictures of cars. At that time, it was pretty hard to get in contact with the Stradman, but once we showed him what we could do, he invited us back for more shoots, and we've been shooting him a bunch ever since. He has been a huge mentor of mine and a huge reason why I even decided to pursue YouTube. I drove him up to my old Air Force base to film a rocket launch that ended up getting canceled, and on the way back, he told me so much about YouTube, the strategy behind it, his frequency and uploads, and you just could tell the passion in his voice about what he did. And I wanted to take a shot at something like that. I always thought I should, since I'm around cars so much, but I just felt like it would have been too much work. And hearing it from him, like, all I had to do was just get started and keep uploading. And once I kept that very narrow focused mindset, I was able to get into a workflow and it made sense for me. Hope you guys enjoyed my helicopter hat there. That's gonna slow down. James, I would say, isn't the same person on camera as he is off, and here's why. When the camera hits record, James becomes a fireball of energy, and he is just like yelling at the camera, he's yelling at cars, he could barely hold the thing still, and that's why it's so fun to watch his channel. When the camera's off, James becomes a very quiet, reserved, calm person. However, his kindness, his character, and his values are the same, whether the camera's recording or not. So that means if we go to Mobetta's and we get some food, or we go to Raising Cane's and he interacts with a cashier or somebody that's taking his dishes, or even just someone that holds the door open for him, he treats everybody with equal respect. And I'm not just saying that, like, anyone you see him interact with at maybe a car show or a car meet, like whether it's just a small kid or an older gentleman, believe me, we run into people in public all the time that recognize James when we're out shooting, and he is equally patient and kind and excited to meet every person that comes up and says hi to him. So if you ever do see James, I highly encourage you to actually introduce yourself and tell him how much you love his channel, because it really does mean something to him. And someone at his level does not owe anyone anything. He's already proven himself. He's way too busy and successful to like sit down and dedicate time time and energy to each and every fan, but he still does anyway. I know if you DM him, you probably won't get a response because he gets thousands of them. But if you ever run into him in person, however he treats you is actually genuinely how he feels about you. And at least that's how he's always been with me and the people that I watch him interact with. Moving on, speaking of James and the Utah family, I have to mention the people that came up with this design and helped wrap my car, and that is Faith and Clayton over at Summit Auto Lab. You can learn a lot of stuff about wrapping cars and, you know, their project car with the Porsche, bagging it, and of course they're responsible for doing all the wraps on the Stradman's vehicles as well. Now I've been able to do some private shoots with Clayton and Faith. We've shot their Ferrari, we've shot some other cars for them, and it's fun to just hang out with them. I feel like they're like older cousins almost, so you kind of feel like they treat you like family, but you can just like have fun with them. The dynamic between the two of them is also really nice because you can tell Clayton and Faith, they're just best friends with each other. Like they just love, they feed off each other's energy, and their little dog Sal is like their little child, and it's like a happy family to just be around, and they happen to just have cool exotic cars as well. And also like they're so good, not only at what they do, but who they are, that I drove from California with arguably quite a few really reputable wrap shops in the area all the way to Utah just to get my car wrapped. It's because I knew if I brought it to them, it was gonna be done right. They spent an entire week wrapping my car, and they were as excited about it as I was. And I felt like I was a best friend bringing a car in to them, rather than if I went to a place in LA where I would have just been another client. Great things coming from them too. Next up, my favorite goofball friend who always ends up on World Star, and I swear he's gonna kill himself one day behind a car. Please don't, Edmond Mondi. This guy, well, I wanna talk about Edmond and Cars and then Edmond and Girls. So Edmond and Cars, he terrifies me because he's always doing POV shots of him like shifting and speeding and flying down the Autobahn, just being way too fast and violently reckless, and somehow manages to constantly just barely stay out of trouble. But oh my goodness, Edmond, you scare me to death. I'm glad I'm not like your mother or something. So Edmond with Cars. Scary. Edmond with Girls, though, some of the women that I work with, I've brought a lot of the models to shoot with Edmond in his car on a few different occasions. I've brought them to his track events. Edmond has always been so kind and respectful to both the girls that are around me and myself. Some guys, like, they just can't hang. Guys just feel like it's necessary to either be completely awkward or try to hit on all of them. Edmond is just himself, and he makes them feel comfortable being themselves. I feel like I can keep bringing people around him because he's always so nice to them. He's always been really nice to me and all of my friends as well. Moving on, Gigi Salvas. Gigi, I've worked with her a couple times, not as many as maybe some of these other YouTubers. Gigi, I don't even know if you can count her as a YouTuber. She should upload more because she's really entertaining to listen to. She's really smart, and she knows cars, and she can drive cars. She had her GT3 out at a track day, and I put Ella in the car with her and some other people there, and Ella told me that Gigi drove faster and harder than anybody else did that she drove with that day, especially considering her young age, very established in the automotive community and respected by just about everybody. I think the only thing Gigi should be doing is uploading more content because she's great at it and she's fun to watch, and the people that follow her love supporting her. All right, next up is 8080. 8080, I want to just take them as like a whole because there's a lot of good guys over there working with Nick. As far as the sweepstakes goes, these are the dudes that, like, even if you don't win the car, you still want to rep their apparel, and you'll see 8080 shirts on me all the time in some of my vlogs because it's just a brand that's fun to get behind. I think 8080 as a sweepstakes or as a brand as a whole is full of guys that some of their guys are actually pretty goofy and funny off camera, and then some of them are like really into cars, and like, how do I say this? You want to be looking your best when you're around these guys because they are the best. Even Stefan Lewis, who I think you've seen pop up on Stratman's channel a couple times, who's one of 8080's creators, is very good at what he does. You'll see him, you know, driving some really ridiculous Lamborghini one day on like his TikTok, and then the next day he's like dancing around with his kid. So even Stefan is just a very wholesome kind of person that you just want to see win. So everything that comes from 8080 is nothing but class. Moving on, George Williams. Now, George is the best automotive photographer, bar none. Like, as far as like just like high end professional level edits goes, nobody's doing it better than George. He came to Santa Monica a couple months back. I had already been kind of talking to him in the DMs, and he was like, yo, like, do you have a car or something that we can shoot this in the area? And I was like, I have a Roush? I don't think I can get a car like that quickly. And he's like, fine, we'll shoot the Roush. So we drove around in my Mustang, and I got to know him a little bit. Very, very high class, professional, British. I don't know if like cheeky is the right word. He loves what he does, and after listening to just all his stories, all the places he's traveled in the world and all the things he's done, I said, dude, you should put all this on YouTube because people would watch it. You know so much about photography. He didn't just take it, you know, a camera and run around and vlog. He did start uploading, and of course subscribers flooded in. He started making like almost cinematic level Top Gear type, I can't even call them vlogs, just video pieces. Give him a follow on Instagram. I'll put his handle here. Next up is a guy that, well, let's just say I've been to several car events that don't allow certain vehicles, American Muscle being one of them, and so many people said if this dude does not show up, we won't show up, that the event had to compromise their own rules and let him come, and that is Suited Racer Andre with the big bad V10 Viper ACR. I've been out in the track with Andre. I've shot several different videos with him. We even have a project coming up in the next week, I think, that's gonna be huge for both of us. He was the only guy that made the cut for this type of video. I had a lot of cars sourced for this project, and he was the only one that they allowed in. Andre is the type of guy where like you could be at a car meet and everybody can just be like drooling over his Viper, and he's like standing next to you drooling over it too. Like he's not there to impress anyone. He's not there to show off. He's built the car himself. He's poured his heart and soul into it, and his true love for not just building and modifying cars, but just spending time in the community shows, because he's made so many positive connections with people. People want to involve him in everything, whether it's a really exclusive secret event or it's just a public car meet like Malibu Autobahn. People want to make sure that Andre is there. And you know, you can find Vipers in California, and his car is very unique, don't get me wrong, but people invite Andre for Andre. If his car was out of commission, people would find ways to still make sure Andre gets to car shows. That's what kind of person he is. And go subscribe to his YouTube channel because it's gaining traction very quickly. You'll find some guys that you like on his page too, like Amelia Hartford and TJ Hunt, and who knows next? I guess we'll find out in the next week. Next up, not really a YouTube channel, but enough of an influencer, use that term loosely, that I had to count it, and that is the Speed Suspects Instagram page being run by my guy Joshua, and I'll put Joshua's Instagram right here. He's the one mastermind behind Speed Suspects and all the content there. Joshua, it seems like all roads in the automotive community lead to him. At some point, he has crossed paths with just about everybody. Josh is a very behind the scenes type guy. He doesn't like to be in the spotlight, even when you're out, you know, doing some cool kart stuff. Like, he's not in the background trying to like flex or take credit for anything. He loves to just make stuff happen and then just see everybody enjoy what he put together. He's also very big on like mindset and self-development, personal growth and things like that. So even just kind of like outside of the car scene, Josh is the type of person that you can learn from and is very eager to learn from you. When I introduce people to him, I'll find him hanging out with those people on their own time because they enjoyed spending time with Josh so much. They're like, oh, I want to make him my friend too. Well, maybe a storefront, maybe a physical location. We'll have to wait and see, but I know there's a lot kind of going on behind the scenes there that he should be releasing soon. And finally, at the end of the list, in no particular order at all, my Mustang buddy, only guy that I know of who's leading his entire channel off of a Mustang, happens to be parked in the driveway of the residence that the Stratman lives in, and that is Mr. Burlocker. The Burlocker is known for being, I don't know if like landlord is the right term, just best friend rather, of James the Stradman. And of course I met him because of James, but I want to kind of treat him as his own brand because he has created his own YouTube channel and he's done very well with it, with, you know, the occasional Stradman cameo, but it definitely doesn't need that to sustain itself because people love watching the Burlocker. I remember when he first got his new GT350, it hadn't been wrapped or anything yet, we did a shoot with it, and he said, okay, I have to get this YouTube channel off the ground because anything I do to this Shelby needs to be supported by the YouTube channel. And he did a couple of videos to get started, and it was like he could not figure out his style, he couldn't figure out what he wanted to do. He had like his regular job and he was kind of like testing out YouTube, but then it seems like he just kind of found himself, he figured out how to be comfortable on camera, and then it just skyrocketed from there. How is he like off camera? Almost exactly how he is on camera, honestly. He's just this really tall, I don't want to call him like a teddy bear because I feel like he could really beat somebody up if they were, you know, I don't know. I feel like he's not like a big teddy bear. He's a fun, kind person to be around. He could be like your best friend, but if like somebody like pushed me, he would probably kill them. Not really though. The Burlocker, also really smart guy. I feel like there's so much more to him that we just don't get to learn about on the channel that he knows in other areas beyond automotive. But I think the funniest thing to watch is the interaction between him and James off camera, because the two of them, it's kind of like, if you've ever seen the movie Step Brothers, it's like that. Like, they're both really smart guys, but they're also goofy and completely themselves when they're around each other. And I think each one brings the best out of the other one. Some of that is captured on their new YouTube channel that they have called The Thidiots or something like that. I'm probably mispronouncing that. But it really comes out when there's no cameras rolling and they're just in a room together, just being best friends. And a lot of people are like, you know, James can put 8, 10 supercars in a driveway. Why can't he get his own place? And I'm totally speculating here, but I think it's just because James and Burlocker really like being James and Burlocker. They just love being each other's best friends. If you're living with your best friend and there's no real reason to leave, why would you? You know, take your time on your dream house, because right now all that matters is if you're happy. And if you have a best friend like the Burlocker, without a doubt, you're happy. All right, guys, that pretty much does it for my list of YouTubers. I know there's a bunch more out there that I've probably worked with at some point in time, but I wanted to touch on the ones that I work with on a regular basis and just showcase some of the things that they do off camera that make them friends. Make sure you click that notification bell. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, because you're gonna see these people appear on my channel. So if you like them, you're probably gonna like this channel, I hope. And we upload videos every single Tuesday, every single Thursday, and every single Sunday, guys. I put out tons of content, and later this week, we have something very, very cool coming to the channel. Probably one of the most exclusive, biggest vlogs ever. It may or may not have something to do with your favorite automotive movie franchise. We'll leave it at that. I'll catch you at the next episode. Peace!
I might lie to you just to get through the night.